Hello, my name is Dr. Jane Kise, and I'm one of the content creators and advisors to Kidtelligent.com, a website that is designed to help teachers compare their personalities and learning needs with those of their students. It also helps teachers discover new strategies for core content areas and 21st century skills, and provides strategies to students when content requires them to learn in ways that don't quite meet their styles. There is a lot of theory and research behind the Kidtelligent website and the information it provides, and it's organized around Carl Jung's theory of personality type. Many people are familiar with this theory through the Myers-Briggs type indicator, but the theory isn't simply an instrument. It's a deep way of understanding individual differences in how normal people gain energy, gather information, make decisions, and approach work and life. All of these are, of course, are key to education. Students need energy to learn. Education is all about gathering information. They're making decisions about that information from the moment they start reading or listening until they finish their final projects and assessments. And of course, we all know that students approach work and life in different ways. The goal of Kidtelligent is to help them figure out how to make the most of how they're hardwired and yet meet the needs of school and work and other areas to get a good start in life. So, what does this theory actually say? The key parts that are most important to learning are where we get our energy, and Carl Jung described two different ways that we're energized. One is through extroversion, and this in Jungian terms is not about who has the most friends or who likes to go to parties, but again about how we get our energy. Those who prefer extroversion get their energy through action and interaction. When I work hands-on with students, we often ask them to self-select whether they think they're extroverted or introverted, and they get into groups and they design their ideal classrooms. This picture was drawn by a group of extroverted students. The circles are chairs with springs on the bottom so that they can bounce their energy out without getting in trouble. The green line is a maze that they can run through and find candy when they're hungry. The purple and red squiggly lines are an Olympic-sized swimming pool. You can see that they've also got a wrestling mat, a track field, a basketball court, a football field. Energy through action and interaction is what makes the world work for extroverts. In contrast, one of the introverted groups across the room asked me, don't we each get our own sheet of paper? You see, introverts get their energy through solitude and reflection. They each worked in their own corner of the big piece of paper I'd given them, and you can see how much space they allowed in between tables and chairs and students, giving an overall sense of calm. Energy through solitude. Of course, teachers need energy to teach, students need energy to learn, and in most situations we have a mix of each, extroverts and introverts, all needing their needs to be met. The second key piece of personality type that's important to education is how we gather information. And Jung again described two different preferences. Those who prefer intuition get their information through insights, connections, and analogies. This little map here was done before Google Maps. I prefer intuition. My husband, who's also a teacher, prefers sensing. And we were giving directions on how to get to our house. I drew a very simple map, just showing straight lines, because when I take in information as an intuitive, I need just the big idea, which is what this map provides. My husband, who prefers sensing, gets his information through reality and past experiences. He looked at my map and said, that's not enough information. So he added many more things to this. He added the name of the school that you drive by. He showed how the road curves. He gave an arrow pointing to our house and also marked where the pond and the stop signs are. When sensing and intuitive people give information to each other, they often clash over giving too much or too little. And as you can see, that curve in the road is actually an important part of knowing how to get to our house. Other people who prefer my husband's style say they'd actually give me a call if they were driving using my map, because my map doesn't match reality, and when they hit that curve in the road, they'd assume that they made a wrong turn. So this has a huge impact on how students and teachers interpret the information they're being given. When you put these four preferences together, extroversion, introversion, sensing, and intuition, you get the four learning styles of type. Kidtelligent starts here, but delves deeper into the 4 profiles within each style. In other words, there are 4 learning styles, but 16 types that provide lots of diversity within the Kidtelligent system. Let's take a brief look at those 4 styles and the research behind them. The first style we'll look at is extroversion and sensing. These people love active learning tasks. Their motto might be, "Let me do something, please." They love experiences that have to do with people that are relevant to real life. These are the students that often ask, "When will I ever use this?" And they prefer a practical, hands-on environment. If school could be designed just for them, it would be the magic school bus every day where you go up in the tornado to learn how it works. You pass through the waterworks system to see how our public utilities actually make our water safe. Hands-on and practical. When they are working, they actually need something to happen. I've done a lot of research on how students learn mathematics. This student that I'll show you some work samples from was asked to make a shape that was 1/4 red and 3/4 yellow. This is what he drew first. If he kept going, he would have made a shape that was all in eighths. Why did he look at eighths? Because the example was in eighths. But then he reread the problem and said, "Oh, now I'm starting to get it," and he drew this one. Then he read it again and said, "I need a new piece of paper." And here's what he drew, the accurate shape that's 1/4 red and 3/4 yellow. Extroversion and sensing students need to have something going on. This is what their brain looks like. My colleague Dario Nardi, who's a professor at UCLA, has hooked up people to an EEG and taken 2 to 3 hours of brainwave information and synthesized it to see their overall brain patterns. And he calls the extroversion and sensing mode the tennis hop. You can see how there's just a tad of color in each region of the brain, and on the right-hand side of this slide you can see that every section is just a little half on, as if these students and adults are waiting for something to happen, just like a tennis player stands in a crouched position, ready to go any direction that the ball may need them to go. This student, while he was doing his math, was making something happen by drawing the pictures so that his brain could react to something. This is a very different brain pattern than you get when you move to extroversion and intuition. Their brain fires all at once. Look at on the right-hand side at all the energy in the different areas of the neocortex. Here you've got transcontextual thinking going on, with each area trying to make a connection with another area. These students love collaborative learning tasks or things where they get to solve big problems. Their motto might be, "Let me lead as I learn." They love leading, adventure, novelty with people, and they love a fluid, exciting environment when things are changing all the time. In fact, that Christmas tree pattern in the brain requires that fluid, exciting novelty because they're trying to make those connections amongst very different ideas. The third pattern we'll look at is introversion and intuition. These students love creative learning tasks, and their motto might be, "Oh, please, let me follow my own lead." They need experiences with room to dream, innovate, and explore deeply, and their environment needs to be creative. The brain on the right is their brain in flow, and it goes into this state of deep concentration that feels natural and flowing and totally engaged whenever they're facing a novel situation. They need a minimum of distraction. They need a lot of background information, but when they go into this mode, their brain simply pops with an answer. These are the students that sometimes say, "I don't know where I got my answer," or "Why do I need to show my work? I know this is right." They've had an intuitive flash, sometimes needing guidance to be able to explain where those answers come from. But most of all, they need novelty in order to get into this beautiful state of flow. The fourth group are the introversion and sensing students who love structured learning tasks. Their motto would probably be, "Let me know what to do, please." They like structured, safe experiences and an environment that's predictable. It's not that they're insecure and needing hand-holding, but rather, why would you waste your time proceeding on a project unless you're sure you know what the teacher wants? Their brain patterns are different depending on how they practiced. For example, in math, they'll show accessing different areas of the brain depending on whether they were taught procedures or they were taught conceptually. So their brains differ depending on how they learned information. There are 2 other Jungian concepts that have a bearing on the Kidtelligent system. One is our basis for making decisions. Those who prefer thinking make their decisions based on logic and impartial standards, and those who prefer feeling make their decisions by stepping into the shoes of those involved. This has a lot to do with the content that we're most attracted to. Yes, thinkers do like math more than a lot of feelers, although feeling types can become just as good as at math if they're taught correctly. And feeling types generally are found more in some of the humanities areas, such as literature or foreign language, but thinkers also love those areas if they're taught them correctly. This also has a bearing on our needs for feedback and our relationships, and the Kidtelligent system helps teachers understand these different needs. The final area is around how we approach life. People who prefer judging approach their life by planning their work and working their plan. They're often the model students in the United States. Those who prefer perceiving approach life by taking advantage of the moment. They don't want to lock down into an assignment, for example, until they're sure they found the most interesting way to do it. They often benefit by planning backward rather than starting at the first available moment, a very different approach to success that, again, Kidtelligent helps teachers understand. When you change one letter in the Kidtelligent system, you change a lot. When you look at how we put these different 16 types together, here's one example just on the information provided on the kinds of questions students might ask. The students that the Kidtelligent system calls directors need to be able to ask questions and have them answered, especially about why they need to learn something, when they'll use it in real life, and why it must be done a certain way if they can think of a more efficient way. In contrast, those ISTJ achievers notice when what they're currently learning builds on what they learned the day before, and they may ask questions if they feel something is being left out. Very different motivations behind their questions that Kidtelligent helps you understand. Jungian type, though, isn't a box. It's a growth system, which is why I'm representing it here with a tree. Kidtelligent doesn't box students in, but rather helps you understand the best way for them to make the most of who they are and develop into the best students they can be. It's also not an excuse for bad behavior. Kidtelligent helps both teachers and students understand when their own style is appropriate and when they're better off adjusting to a different style, either because of the environment or because of the content of what they're learning. I invite you to go to Kidtelligent.com and take a look at what the system provides as you try to help students make the most of how they're hardwired by providing strategies for learning in every style, honoring their style when they struggle, and teaching them to advocate for their needs, which may be different from their wants. That's the goals of Kidtelligence, and it really is a robust system for helping students be understood and understand themselves. Thank you.